Welcome back to the Primitive Camping and Bushcraft podcast. My name is Chris Spear, and today I'll be your guide to enjoying the great outdoors. And we got a very special guest with us today. It's Woodsbound Outdoors. You may know him from his huge TikTok channels and Facebook channels and all that online social media stuff. So, Mr. Woodsbound, how are you doing?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm great. Congratulations on all the great success you've had on the outdoor stuff, and it's great stuff. Going through looking at your Facebook and stuff like that, you have to be the most pirated survivalist or outdoorsman I've ever seen on there. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, that's what I hear. Yeah, it's a problem I never really thought I'd have before. It's
right.
It's kind of annoying. It's a problem I only really have on Facebook for some reason. I don't really have that problem on, YouTube. They're pretty good about, not letting that kind of thing happen.
Right.
TikTok, there's a few fake pages, I think, of me. My followers, they'll tag me in it if they find somebody copying my stuff.
Right.
But there's fake pages. There's even AI images of my face, like superimposed onto, somebody else's body, as their profile, as their profile picture. Yeah. It's weird.
That's crazy. I know I've tagged you in a couple of them, and I've been like, look, dude, they're stealing your stuff over here,
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's bad. I get followers messaging me about it all the time, and you're always sending me, links to them and stuff. It's like a new one pops up every week.
Yeah, it's crazy. You want to pop up and it have 40,000 followers, and I'm like, golly, it took me a year to get 40,000 people.
Yeah, some of them. Yeah, some of them are doing pretty well for themselves. Yeah.
Well, the problem with that is that they download all your hard work, and then they end up making money off of it. And it's money that, revenue that's not coming in for you to reutilize in your outdoor channel and gear and bills and, stuff like that. Cause it's not cheap to do what we do, heading out into the woods and film it. You got to have all kinds of gear to do that stuff. And if somebody's taking your revenue stream away from you, it's just, I hate to use the word not fair, because there's nothing in life that's fair, but still at the same time, it's just, there should be better processes.
Yeah. There's a lot of work that goes into filming, even just making a 30, 40-second video. It's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's annoying having to deal with that. I try to report them on Facebook. I try to have other people report them, but they don't seem to do much about it for whatever reason.
Right. Well, it's because they're making money off of it.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
But it's so, well, moving off of that, let's tell everybody a little bit about yourself. What all do you like to do, and what got you started doing this kind of stuff, and how surprised were you when it actually exploded and took off for you?
Well, I've always been into the outdoors, for as long as I can remember. My family's always been very outdoorsy, always going fishing and hunting, foraging with my dad and my grandpap and uncles. And so I've always been into the outdoors. And then, just as I got older, I wanted to do it more, but, I always had school and work and all that, always gets in the way of the fun stuff.
All the responsibilities.
Yeah. Growing up and having all these responsibilities. So, I decided one day I wanted to do it, in my spare time, and maybe, find a way to make a living at it, but, which seemed pretty impossible at the time. But I watched a lot of YouTube, other people doing it. And that was back when, before people were really monetized on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was watching people doing what they love for a living, after a while, after, people could get monetized on it. So I said, maybe this is possible. So I started making videos in my free time, just filming random things, my adventures in the woods and stuff. Originally I wanted to make just a strictly hunting and fishing channel.
Hmm.
But started watching some survival content, and I was like, there's only hunting season only lasts for so long. How much content?
Right.
How much content can I really make from that? Um, so eventually, in my free time, I'd make videos, and for a few years, I didn't post any videos because they were terrible. So they
Yeah,
were
the
bad.
stage fright, huh?
Yeah, they were bad. So a lot of footage I ended up just deleting for that reason, and till I started getting better at it over the years and finally posted my first video to YouTube, and it didn't do very well. I think
Right.
it was making a fire with an empty lighter. I think that was my first YouTube video,
Oh, wow.
and that's when TikTok was just starting out, and short form content wasn't really a popular thing yet. So um, kept posting videos every once in a while in my free time. But then my wife used TikTok a lot. So she was like, oh, hey, there's a lot of people on TikTok doing what they love and posting videos. Maybe you should try it. So I was like, all right, maybe I'll try posting a TikTok video. So
Right.
I redid my survival lighter, or not survival, but making a fire with an empty lighter video.
Right.
Shortened it down to a really, short video. Was it 55 seconds or whatever it was?
Right.
Uh, so I posted that. I was like, we'll see what happens. And that night, I started getting notifications on my phone over and over again, and I was like, what's going on? Like, why is my phone going off like crazy? So I went and checked my phone, and I'm getting all these views on this video. And I was surprised by it. I couldn't believe it. It was up to like 30,000 views or something like that. And,
Right.
at that time, to me, that was a ton of views. I was like, wow, people,
Right.
I guess people like this stuff. It's doing a lot better than my YouTube video did.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I was like, well, maybe I can do something with this. I don't know. That was what, 3 years ago almost.
Right. The COVID era.
Yeah, yeah, around
Yeah.
that.
So what happened to me was something a little similar to that. Is uh, my son says, "Hey, why don't you start a TikTok?" And I looked at him and I said, "What in the world is a TikTok?" And so I uploaded how to start a friction fire with a cotton ball and some ashes, and that thing exploded. I think in the first several hours, I got like 100 and some thousand views on that. Next thing you know, I had followers join left and right. And I was like, this is crazy. So I started posting the next video and the next video and the next video. And then after that, it just exploded. And then there for a while, I noticed on your videos, you was like replying to people and was like, man, look, until I figure out what I can post and what I can't post on here, get off my comments being all negative or something. I think he was doing like how to break firewood with two trees, just simple stuff.
Uh,
And
yeah,
then from that video forward, it was like I think you had like 45,000 followers at that point.
yeah,
And then all of a sudden it just went, the sky's the limit. And I was like, check this out. And then a couple months went by, and I'd already been in like the 200, 300,000s. And I went back and I saw one of your videos. I hadn't seen none of your videos in forever. And then all of a sudden it come back and you was like 800,000. I'm like, check this dude out. Congratulations, man. I was proud.
yeah, yeah. Thanks. Yeah, it really took off like pretty
Yeah.
quickly. But yeah, that video you're talking about where I was breaking branches in between, a forked tree,
Mhm.
showing people how to do that, because a lot of my videos were, starting to get taken down for,
Silly stuff.
graphic
Mhm.
content or whatever, and I was just because I was using a knife, and I can't even remember what else, but making fires and stuff like, scary stuff like that.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
so,
Scary stuff. Let me tell you.
yeah. So I was like, I'll break some branches between a tree, and I don't know, maybe teach somebody something. And I'd
Right.
get I'd get comments on it like, oh, this is third grader stuff. Oh, You know,
Yeah.
you know what kind of
Oh,
calls.
I know. I know all about it. I still get it. I mean, I know you do too, but
Oh
it's
yeah,
to the point now where with both of our channels is that you get so many comments that it's impossible to pretty much reply back to every one of them. And, as much as I'd love to, and I would
right.
want to, it gets to the point where it's impossible. And I know with you, millions of followers and all the way across all your platforms, and it's ridiculous. But anyway, I got the copy of the Primitive Camping and Bushcraft book, and that's what we base this whole podcast off of. And I know you got a copy of it as well. But
Yep, right here.
yeah. So what when you head out into the woods and you're going, let's say you're going camping, walk me through what that looks like for you. Like what kind of stuff do you load in your backpack? Are you a minimalist, or are you somebody that throws a bunch of stuff in there? Because I know that we load a lot of camera gear, and whenever I head out into the woods, the majority of my stuff is camera gear, and and I'll have just whatever it is to camp on. But show me or describe to everybody that's listening and everybody that's watching what it's like for you to load your stuff and head into the woods.
Um, I use a 60-liter, ultralight style backpack. It's like $100, but it's a nicer one. It's pretty durable, lightweight, and I'll take, if it depends, it all depends like what time of year I'm going out.
Right.
If I'm going in the summer, camping in the summer, I'm going to carry a lot less than I would in the middle of winter, and
Right.
I might carry different things. I'll bring usually an ultralight tent, or I'll bring a tarp, um, and a ridge line for it. And sometimes I won't. It all depends on what kind of camping I want to do. Sometimes I won't even bring that. I'll just make a shelter out of tree bark or whatever. And
So you're not really, so are you not a hammock camper?
I do sleep in a hammock sometimes.
Right.
So in one of my backpacks, I keep a hammock. Very comfortable. It's one of my favorite ways to sleep.
Right.
Gets a little cold in the winter. I don't have an underquilt for mine. So,
Okay.
so in the wintertime, I don't usually use hammocks, but
Hmm.
unless we're having warm weather.
Right.
But always bring some kind of fire starter with me, ferrocerium rod usually, and
Right.
I'll bring a lighter too. Couple different ways to start a
But
fire.
let's pause that right there and break that down, because I know there is a huge thing where people are like, "Oh, you're not a survivalist unless you can start a fire with a ferro rod." And I'm like, "Buddy, I'm a survivalist, and I've started more fires with a big lighter than I ever have with a ferrocerium." I mean,
Yeah,
just because I'm going out into the woods, camping doesn't mean that I have to. I mean, you practice with your stuff, and practice makes better. It never makes perfect, but it makes better. And, I use primitive methods all the time to practice, to be proficient, because what if the lighter breaks? What if you lose it? You won't have a lighter. You have to start it the other way. But ferro rods are my second choice, but I always use a lighter. And I want to dispel that right there, because a lot of comments I get on all my videos, I don't know about you, when you start a fire, is, or you could bring a lighter. That is the
yeah.
comment, or you could bring a lighter.
Yeah. Oh, I get bashed either way. If I use a lighter to start a fire, I'll get bashed for not using sticks or a bow drill or something. And if I use a bow drill, they're asking me, why aren't you using a lighter? So I get it from both sides.
I do too.
You can't win. You can't win no matter.
You cannot.
It's the internet. It is what it is.
So you mentioned that you bring a tarp or something with you. So if whenever you're heading out, and you bring a tarp, like my favorite tarp to use is the Double D 3x3. It's like $75. It's a relatively expensive tarp, but it has like 13 attachment points on there. And you could really do a lot of stuff with this tarp.
Yeah.
But that is my favorite way to set up a shelter when I'm heading out there. So when you're heading out there with your tarps, what is your favorite way to set up your shelter? Because right now we're getting into the shelter section of the book, and that's what we're going over with all the people that's watching the video and all the people that's listening to the podcast is the shelter. And I love the fact that a tarp is almost ready-made shelter, and it's lightweight and convenient. So what's your favorite setup if you bring a tarp with you out into the woods?
I have a quick deploy ridgeline, like Dave Canterbury talks about. You just attach it to one tree. It's just a piece of paracord. It's, I don't know, 50 feet long or so.
Right.
And I'll attach one end to a tree, with a bowline and use a marlin spike hitch, attach it to the tree, take the other end to the other tree. Use a trucker's hitch to, tighten everything down. And I have prusik loops already attached to it. And I'll either make a lean-to for it or an A-frame. And if I'm using a hammock, I'll just hang the hammock right under it, under the A-frame of the tarp. You just drape it over the ridge line and then attach each corner to stakes in the ground.
So that's basically the same type setups that I use whenever I head out. Like, I love the simplicity of a lean-to type shelter with a tarp.
Yeah.
And then if it starts raining or I know it's going to be raining or anything like that, then I'll just make a frame type shelter over wherever I'm bedding down. But I saw one of your videos that you did the super shelter thing. And did you have some kind of a tarp system over that, or?
The plastic sheeting, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, the one where it gets real hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, for that, if it's cold, like around 20 degrees or so, but not super cold.
Right.
Yeah, I'll use a Mylar sheet as the backing. I'll hang that up first from the ridge line, and just like a lean-to. And then over top of that, I'll just drape, thin plastic sheeting over everything.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
With a little bit of ventilation so you can get some fresh air in there.
Right.
Like a fresh air exchange coming through, so you're not.
Yeah, it looked like it got very hot.
Yeah, it did. They get very hot. Mm-hmm. You can add something over top of that, like a sheet or like a wool blanket or something for more added insulation if it's single digits or negatives. But if it's a little warmer than that, you don't need all that. Just it gets very hot in there. Like,
wow, that's crazy. I saw that. I was like, look at this dude go, man. And I've always seen it. I think Morris Kohansky is the one that really developed that or pioneered that or whatever. And the super shelter, he called it, I believe. And he really talked about that in his book, Bushcraft. And, the majority of a lot of the skills and the stuff that we use when we go out into the woods, primitive camping, survival, bushcraft, whatever you want to call it, is stuff that was really, really pioneered by people like Morris Kohansky or Kephart or, stuff like that, where they really just jotted down little tips, tricks, and techniques that they learned or used or learned from somebody else along the way. And pretty much the majority of everything that we do is stuff that is learned and relearned and I hate to say the word regurgitated, but that's really what it is put a little spin on it, and it's regurgitated for the next person to use, and then they develop it in another way. And that seems to be what these skills are, is just everybody adds their own little spin to it, and then it turns into something new. Look at some of the big names on YouTube, and what they're doing is like, I developed this. And I'm like, no, you didn't. You borrowed that from so-and-so and added a piece to it.
Right. Yeah. So, the knowledge already existed. You just, added, like you said, your own little spin to it.
Right. Like ridge lines have been there for years. You added Prussic loops to it, and
Right.
which is an amazing thing. Now, here in the South, we use trot lines a lot for catfish. Now, there's several different ways you could do it, and we'll run a line out. We got different stages all the way through, usually 5 to 10 hooks or whatnot. And you bait your hooks, throw it in there, and you go about your business. You got 3 or 4 trot lines. You can fill a boat up with catfish. But when I was growing up, my dad showed us that you string your line out, the depth you want it, where you want it, and everything. And then you come back with the Prussic loops and you make them, I don't know, about 1.5 foot long, 2 foot long. And then you put those to the string that you strung across the water and then put your hook in there. And then you can move it to wherever you want it. But whenever the fish got on there, it's stuck. It's not going to go to the left. It's not going to go to the right. It's staying right there. And man, we would catch some catfish. Some of the catfish we caught in the 60s, 60 pounds, nice sized catfish.
Oh yeah, but that's a pretty big thing in the South. Trot lines, setting them. I don't. They're not legal here in Pennsylvania.
Huh. Well, you're going to have to come down here and we'll go camping for a week.
yeah, I always wanted to try that. There's always something I wanted to do, but a lot of stuff's illegal. Everything's illegal here.
Oh, really? No, not Mississippi.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a lot different down there. Farthest south I've ever been is Georgia. So.
Oh, really? Yeah. So we got it's good stuff here. It's hot in the summertime for sure. And I mean, like we're just coming out of summertime. It's the end of September going into October and it's still 90 degrees outside,
That's crazy.
And it don't really start cooling off here till the end of October, 1st of November. And even then cooling off is high 70s, low 80s in the
that's your idea. Cool. That's about what it's here now.
Really? At nighttime here, like you was talking about hammocks a while ago. I have an underquilt, and the only time I use it is whenever it's like 30 degrees or below. Because the cold here, I lived in Alaska for 4 years, and I was in the military, and it was a different cold. Like it could be 20 degrees up there, and you'd be outside in a long sleeve shirt and long pants. That's it. You wouldn't need a jacket or anything like that. But here in Mississippi, the humidity is so bad that if it's 20 degrees, you're going to freeze to death. I mean, it is cold. You need a parka. You need like bibs and insulated stuff.
Now, do you even get snow down there?
Once every 5 or 6 years, we'll get about 2 inches. And that's about it.
That's crazy.
It'll snow in the evening and it'll be all melted the next morning. So all these snowmen people go out there all night, make snowmen. And then they'll be all melted blobs by in the morning.
Running out there making snowmen while they can.
Right. So when you head out into the woods, how we was talking about a while ago, you're loading your bag up with different stuff. What is your favorite go-to as far as food and food gear?
Food. I love food.
I do too.
So, mountain house meals are a big thing. That's freeze dried foods, especially the beef stew ones. They're really good.
I love the beef stew by Mountain House.
Do you? Yeah. I mean, it's probably my favorite one. One of my favorite camping meals. A lot of times I'll bring tuna, canned salmon. I'll dehydrate my own meals, like chili, all different kinds of soups. Like I dehydrated I got made fun of for how I said gnocchi, chicken gnocchi soup. That's really good from Olive Garden. Just to, dehydrated meals just to lighten them up, take a lot less space up in your pack, and don't weigh nearly as much as if you just, bring canned soup. So things like that, packed, flavored tuna, all different kinds of things I bring. If it's wintertime, I'll bring steaks. That way they can sit in my backpack and not go bad.
Right. I tell you what, one of my favorite things to bring whenever I'm going out into the woods in the summertime, well, year round, really here, is summer sausage. Summer sausage doesn't really have to be refrigerated as long as it's still sealed up. And one of the beautiful things about it is you can eat it with almost anything. Yeah, you can make a sandwich out of it if you had the bread to make a sandwich. I watched how you did. You made some bread out there, and how
Yeah,
was that?
Bannock bread. I love that's another thing I like to bring. I'll
Right.
uh, I'll make the mixture up. I'll just it's all it is flour, some baking powder, and a little bit of salt. You could add different spices into it, but that's usually all I put into it. So when I'm
Mhm.
out there, all I have to do is add water, just mix it up while it's already in the Ziploc bag, and then just put it on a hot rock or a stick and
Mm.
hang it over the fire till it bakes.
Mm. See, and that I love that kind of stuff. Like I did one that I did a video on making biscuits, like a big cat head biscuit, big old thing like that. It was really a loaf of bread is what it was.
Oh yeah,
And did that it by the fire and made my own biscuit and everything. And that was so good. But getting back to the summer sausage, that stuff is amazing. You can use it in beans, you can use it with your eggs in the morning, cut it up and eat it for breakfast, and it just goes so far. And it's a pound, it's less than a pound, so it's a pretty substantial amount of protein or fat and food that would last you a couple of days while you're out there. And one of my go-to things has always been like dried beans. You could take some dried kidney beans or pinto beans or whatever. They're 1 pound can feed you for several days, and it's a
right.
lot of food in that. And if you use like that minute rice, that dehydrated rice,
Yeah.
you can eat anything. And my brother and I, when we go out together, we'll bring a pound of beans and we'll bring some of that in minute rice, and we'll catch catfish and we'll smoke catfish or bluegill or bass or whatever. Pike is real good. And we'll let them stand, hang them by the tail on the side of the fire and let them smoke all day long. And I'm telling you right now, that is amazing with beans. And I covered that in the book here in the cooking section, or the food section. But I love some smoked fish out on the river.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's been a while since I had pike. Catfish is really good though. It's like a southern staple, I hear.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, you can't go a stone's throw without hitting two or three catfish places around here,
yeah, that's what I hear.
right?
Tortilla shells are a really good thing to bring too because they're flat, compact. You just put them in your backpack. They don't take up much space, and you can put so many different things on them. You can make fish.
Hmm.
You can make fish tacos. You can put beans and rice in them with some fish meat, and just all different kinds of things you can put on them. Like
Yeah.
make
So, do you vacuum seal them? Like you'll open them out of the original package and vacuum seal them? They last a little bit longer that way, or?
yeah, vacuum sealing. I'll vacuum seal. Put stuff in the freezer. It lasts a lot longer that way.
Mhm.
All my deer meat, I vacuum seal, and it gives a lot more storage time in the freezer.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Deer season opens up next week down here, bow season, and
Yeah,
I'm actually preparing to head out, and I'm going to be gone for about a week.
are you?
And yeah, I'm really excited about that one. And so
Yeah,
I love the first week of deer season. It's usually whenever I get my deer every year, and that's it. I'll
yeah,
go and hunt that week and get me a nice little buck, and then I'll come home and process it down, and then the rest of the year I'll film.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm excited about it too. I go every year. I usually wait for a little while though till the rut starts to kick in and the deer really
Mhm.
start moving. Usually here that happens end of October, last week of October, first week of November. It's when it really starts to cool down pretty good. And
Right. Our rut starts about the first 2 weeks of December. But
uh,
hey, let's move along real quick because we only got a few minutes left before we got to get out of this
sure.
video. But water. We talked about food, we talked about shelter, we talked about starting a fire with your lighter or your ferro rod or whatever.
Right.
Um, Now, one of the main necessities here is going to be water. You're up north, and so are you comfortable drinking straight out of the stream, or are you going to be boiling your water?
I mean, it depends what the stream looks like. I mean, no matter how clear the water is, there's always a chance it could be, have pathogens in it. But
Absolutely.
if it's a cool, clear, mountain stream coming straight out of the mountain, yeah, I've drank out of them before without filtering, without boiling or anything. I never had an issue with it. Um, there's times where I've gotten upset stomach from it, but if I can, I'm always going to filter at least. I'm always going to at least filter it or boil it.
Right. So that's what I try to tell all the viewers and the listeners here is that just be safe and boil your water. I usually use a millbank bag or something to that effect to mainly a handkerchief. I'll use a handkerchief a lot just to get the grit and the grime out of it. I've done a video where I used one of those reusable K-cup filters and just poured into my water bottle and poured the dirty water into there, filtering out all the grit and grime, and then I'll boil the water and drink it. Now, I have a problem being that it's 900 degrees down here in the summertime. When you boil your water and you're thirsty, you have to wait for it to cool off.
Oh yeah, that's the worst. Sitting there waiting, you're dying of thirst, and you got to wait for it to cool down. Yeah,
you got a pounding headache.
Yeah, like, come on.
Uh-huh. So, are you familiar with the dynamic duo on TikTok, the two old farts in the woods?
I've seen their stuff before. Yeah, it's been a long time, but yeah, they've been on YouTube for a while, haven't they?
Yeah, YouTube and TikTok, and they come down and we did some videos together last year. We went mushroom hunting and found some lion's mane mushrooms, and
yeah.
So, but they made their own millbank bags, and they did an awesome job with it. And it was awesome. And all you do is pour your dirty water in there, and it gets all the silt and debris and everything out, and leaves the unfiltered dirty water, but clean, where you can boil it, and you're not going to have all the grit and grime and stuff in there,
Right.
Plus, it'll save on your water filter.
Oh yeah. You get a lot more life out of it that way by pre-filtering it.
Right. And a lot of people, I can't tell you how many times I've watched people actually just walk up to the stream with their life straw or their whatever, and just suck it straight up. And I'm like, dude, you're going to clog that dude up.
It doesn't take long. I've even done it with like a Ziploc bag. You just snip one of the corners off of it, and then, shove a piece of cotton clothing in there and just pre-filter it that way. Hang it from a tree. Yeah, just hang it from a tree, let it drip into a container of some kind. And then
that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it works pretty much the same way.
Now, one time you did a video, and I really, so one of the problems that I have is living in your shadow is every time I come up with an idea, I'll get ready to start filming it, and you will have just done it or have already just done it, and I'm like, man. But you did a great video one time about taking your sock and filling it up with mud, and then just squeezing it till you got the water out of it. Now, the guy from Battle Box took that the next step. I forget his name from Battle Box, but he went out, did the same thing, and collected that dirty water, and then poured a chemical into it, and then it separated the mud and silt and everything, and what was left was drinkable.
It's called a puree bag or something like that.
Right.
I've seen, it clumps all the sediment together, and it just all falls to the bottom. I've seen that video.
Yeah.
Talking about. Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about drinking all them chemicals.
I don't know enough about it to drinking that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah. So, well, anyway, I have really enjoyed this conversation, man. We're gonna have to do it again, and I think we had a good conversation here, dude.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So we're gonna wind this thing down. And look, everybody, if you really want to learn some stuff about the great outdoors, go over to Woodsbound Outdoors. He's on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. What else? That's about it, huh? Instagram.
Yeah. Just make sure you follow the right guy.
Yeah. Make sure you follow the right one. And but I'll leave a link in the description of this video and in the notes for this podcast.